Ever heard of this company called Apple? Well, I have, and I really like it. And I don't always like Apple. I think it's a decent stock. It's what I call a chugger. It basically just chugs up the chart, and it doesn't really hurt you too bad unless you're in a bear market. Now, Apple right now is in a breakout. And so when Apple is in a breakout, I call it, by the way, a soft breakout. And that's when I want to get involved in it. So right now it's at a breakout point, and I'm looking at Apple and going, okay, I want to get me some of that. So let's take a look at the chart. The fundamentals all look really good. Great earnings per share growth rate, great return on equity, all the other stuff that I could get into and tell you why I think Apple is great. But I think Apple is a good long-term play. So I'm going to give you a long-term strategy, but I'm going to also layer in a way to make short-term income, so that while you wait for this thing to chug up over time, you still get to create an income. I'll show you how that works. So let's just take a look at the chart, because the charting is important. I'm not trying to be a voodoo guy and predict things. I'm trying to put probabilities on my side. And so we're in a green market, so that's like a tailwind for our investments. We've got a green stock. Apple is at the right spot on the chart. A couple other criteria that I use in my cornerstones. The right stock in the right market at the right spot on the chart, and then I squeeze the juice, and I'll show you that in just a second. So we got the Apple right now right around $240.50. So it's the breakout point is right around 239, something like that, 238. And so I'm looking at it going, wow, let me show you what all these lines are. So here's a consolidation. This is a level where it's kind of been trading in for the last several months. The longer the consolidation goes, the bigger the breakout. And so I think Apple will break out. I'm not sure how big a breakout it's going to be, but we got a couple cool fundamental things on our side. Number one, they just released the new iPhone 16. That's kind of cool. A new product cycle. That's great. And then it's Christmas time, right? It's the holiday season. People start buying stuff for people. And so maybe Apple will get a boost on that. And Apple just doesn't do a lot of things wrong, right? They're not an innovative company anymore. I mean, this iPhone 16 isn't that awesome. But you know what? They keep selling more and more phones, and they keep getting more and more subscribers to Apple Music and the things that go in your ears and the iPads and the iPods and whatever, all the stuff that they have. So I like Apple on a fundamental basis. Now, what we're looking at here are these other two lines. So you can see this is a bottoming that it had, I don't know, that might have been, 6-8 months ago. So it looks like about somewhere in March or April. And so it had a bottom there. It ran up all the way to this 237 level. Okay, so remember that. It had a bottom there at 170 or something like that, looks like 165. And then it ran all the way up to this level. Okay, and then it corrected back down to this level. Now that's important to know, right? Because that correction said, all right, look, a lot of people are getting out, and then we got new buyers right back in. And that creates this imaginary line. It doesn't look imaginary on your screen, but it's an imaginary line because I'm projecting that it's going to go far on a logarithmic scale. It's going to go up this amount, okay? Which is about, I don't know, 160 points or something like that. Anyway, I think it's going to 360. It's my projection from this bottom based on this A, B, C, D line, which I use a lot in trying to figure out target prices. And so I've got this thing going to 360. Not tomorrow, not next week, but I think over time, just like it took time to get here to the breakout point of $238, I think it's going to 360. That's another 120 points from here. So how do I play it? Well, I'm going to use options, okay? So if you watch my channel, you know that I like to buy a stock and sell a call, or call option. That's called a covered call. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a synthetic, and I'm going to sell a call against it. So instead of buying the stock, I'm going to buy a synthetic. But first, let's talk about how much juice you can get on Apple if you want to buy the stock and just sell the call. So I'm going to look out and I'm going to say, okay, Apple in 10 days, 3 days is probably too short for me, but Apple in 10 days at the money would be these 240s, and they give you $2.73 per share or $272 per contract, which is about 1% a week. Okay, it's not a huge amount, but I try to shoot between 1 and 2% a week or 2 to 4% a month is kind of where I try to target things. But I think Apple is on a breakout now, so I want to stay a little bit ahead of it. So I'm going to go to these 240, 250s, and I'm going to sell these $2.36, 240, 250s, and I'm going to pick up, if it goes there, I'm going to pick up 1.6%. So I'm not sure it's going to go there, but I've got a lot of the probabilities on my side that it might go there. The right market, the right spot on the chart, and the right stock. So that's what I want. And now if I get that, I get a little teeny weeny bit of upside, but I get to make 1.6% if it goes there. And if not, I pick up $235 per contract. Does that make sense? That's the whole point of the trade. Forgetting about if the stock is going to 360 or 320 or whatever. The point is I want to get the direction right so that I can get the calls that I'm selling right. Okay, so I want to be a little bit out of the money right now when things are in my favor. When things change, I'm going to probably change my strategy a little bit. But right now I want to do these $242.50. So remember that they're going for about $2.34 per share or $235 per contract. You got that? And that's for 10 days. So how are we going to structure this? Well, we're going to go out to the we're going to go buy some synthetics that are out 6 months. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to run them down. I need to pull some more strikes up here, so let me get all the strikes going. What I want to do is I want to find something around between an 80 and a 90 delta, okay? And so I want to have something here, let's call it this 90 delta here, which is the 210s, okay? So the 210s are going to cost me $3.52 in juice, but that's for 6 months, so I get to divide that monthly. It's like 50 cents a month, okay? But they're going to cost me $34.90 to buy. Why am I doing that? Well, it's going to cost me $3,490 a contract to control 100 shares of Apple, okay? It's a lot cheaper than having to spend $24,000 to control 100 shares of Apple, right? So I'm going to control 100 shares of Apple, and I'm going to buy these 210s. Well, they're in the money by $31 right now, so I'm going to pick up the 210s. Let me write down the number here. Those are the 210s. They're going to go for $3,480 per contract, okay? And then I'm going to sell the 242.50s. Remember we talked about those, and I'm going to pick up $231 per contract, okay? That's going to be my strategy, okay? Now, what I do every week is I adjust my strategy based on my trading plan. My trading plan on this Apple right now, as I sit down, is sell one strike ahead of the money, enough that I at least make 1% a week. Does that make sense? Well, in this case, it's 10 days, but let's call it a week or 10 days, right? So I get now 1.63% if it does run up to 242.50. If it doesn't run up at all, the stock stays at 240, and I still get to keep that $2 and, what do we say, 31 cents, right? And if the stock goes down, then I can start to adjust my position, right? But in a green market, I'm probably going to just want to stay ahead of the money and not do many adjustments. Does that make sense? Here's how the math works out. All right, so I'm buying 20 contracts. 20 contracts at $3,480 a contract is $69,600. And then I'm getting back $231 a contract, and that's $4,620, right? And so if I divide my $4,620 into the $69,600, it's a 6.6% return in 10 days. Now, I'm not saying I can do this, but if I can do 6.6% return, and I can do that 30, how many times in 365? 36 times 6.6%, that's 237% annualized return, okay? Now, that's just a benchmark to be able to compare apples and oranges together, right? I'm not saying I'm going to get 237%, but if I keep staying out of the money slightly, the stock keeps going to my strike price, and even if it goes higher, I'm cool with that because I get to make my maximum amount, right? And then I can roll it to the next period, the next period, the next period. If I can do this 36 times, that is 237%. Even if it doesn't always go to the maximum strike price, I'm still picking up a good amount of juice, right? I'm still picking up, let's call it $2.30 or $2.31 per share, and that's what I'm after. So forget about the point that I'm using a synthetic to buy the stock. The reason for using the synthetic is to have less capital allocated, okay? But also to be able to control the same amount of shares at the same time that I have that less capital allocated. If I could still control those shares, I get the juice, the income. That's what I'm after. Once I buy these 20 contracts that go out 6 months, I kind of forget about them unless the stock goes down drastically and I have to make some assumptions. My point here is to go in every week and try to pick up that $2.31 a week or every 10 days or whatever the period is. If you want to go a little longer, you can go monthlies and pick up a different strike price. But I like this trade. I like Apple. I like what it's doing. I think it's breaking out. I think in 6, 8, 12 months, it's going to be at $360. And by the way, as I start to approach those calls that are 6 months old, I'm going to roll those down. And continue to do this strategy if I continue to like Apple. So this is a nice strategy that a lot of people in my mastermind group and a lot of my clients are doing because we like Apple because it's simple. Doesn't pay huge amounts of juice like MicroStrategy or Tesla, but it pays a nice consistent amount of juice, 1% a week, 1% every 10 days, whatever it is. And that's pretty good juice, right? And that's what we're in it for. So hope you liked the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Hey, it's Mark Yegan. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button right now. It helps get the same kind of material out to other people and helps me grow the channel a little bit. Also, if you would like the video, if you think it's cool, great. If you don't like it, give me a thumbs down, but tell me why you're giving me a thumbs down so I can get better. And then hit the notification bell, and that way you get the videos as soon as they come out, because I give you timely information a lot of the time, and you want to know what happens before that information gets stale. Thanks for being here.